Hello, thanks ever so much for taking the time out to review Aim 4 of our State of Natural Resources report. I thought I'd just bring together a little overview of SONAR, the State of Natural Resources report, set it in a bit of context, and then you could understand a little bit more clearly how the report on Aim 4 fits in with the rest of the product, because I'm conscious that taken in isolation, it may feel a little bit odd. Okay, I thought it'd be useful just to give a 2-minute overview, essentially on the policy framework in which SONAR sits and how it works in that context. So on the right here, you can see 7 high-level national wellbeing or development goals that were established via the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act in 2015. And this was essentially to implement the Sustainable Development Agenda to 2030 in Wales. Shortly following on from that, you can see on the left-hand side, the Environment Act was established in 2016. And this set out this idea of sustainable management of natural resources. And so broadly, that means working with our natural systems and with our production systems to really harness the power of natural resources to deliver on these well-being objectives on the right. And so the idea of SONAR is it provides our assessment of how well we're doing with respect to the sustainable management of natural resources in Wales. And this diagram with these kind of nested circles or ovals here is trying to represent broadly what SONAR's trying to do. So it takes this nested systems approach, so you can see the economy here is sitting within our societies and our cultures, and this socio-economic system is sitting within our environment. And we're interested in understanding the relationship between society, the economy, and the pressures it places on the environment. And we're also interested in understanding how we're managing that relationship in terms of the benefits that we get back from the environment that support our social and cultural well-being and our economic well-being. So hopefully that makes a bit of sense. Okay, so that's the why. Let's have a little look at the how now. So SONAR is an integrated environmental assessment. So we use the well-established DIPSIR framework as an analytical framework to help us organise our evidence on the environment, its state, and its relationship with people and the economy. So we look at the drivers and the pressures that they exert. The drivers we adopt are the ones that are set out by the UK National Ecosystem Assessment here in the bottom right, and we've agreed essentially a classification for the pressures that we use consistently across the SONAR assessment. We then gather evidence on the state of natural resources. So this is the state of ecosystems and air, water and soil specifically. We then gather evidence on the impact on well-being due to the state of natural resources. So that's essentially the flows of ecosystem services, the levels of environmental risk and things like pollution and flooding, and the general natural resource inputs into the economy, so things like the use of water. Finally, to complete the circle, we look at responses. So we termed these opportunities for action, and we also have an agreed classification that we've developed for organising those as well. And as you can see on the left here, the way we organise this information or evidence is around the 8 broad ecosystem types that were established via the UK NEA. And then you can see with the slice of the cake, if you like, below this we have a classification of different natural resources. So these are the abiotic and the biotic components that interact in these different ecosystems to underpin their resilience and to support the supply of things like ecosystem services or nature's contributions to people. So generally, these integrated environmental assessments can be quite big. Fortunately, you don't have to review the entire lot, but this just shows how all the evidence is coming together in sonar, that we have this base of the pyramid here where we have really the kind of discrete bits of evidence around our drivers of change, some evidence on waste, landscape, energy, and then we have things like our Regulation 9A reporting, other reports that have been produced on the environment from across Wales and at the UK level, and this includes things like the ONS natural capital accounts. What we do is then take that evidence and organise it into the DIPSA framework at level 2 here in the pyramid, and so that's starting then to bring this all together in the context of different ecosystems and natural resource types to provide a more integrated assessment of what's happening natural resource by natural resource, if you like. Where you guys are coming in is at the top of level 2 with respect to our AIM 1 to 4 assessments of the sustainable management of natural resources. And so these are essentially providing an integrated assessment against each AIM at the Welsh national level. And we'll go into those specific aims in a second. Okay, so part of the intention of the previous slide was really just to identify that there are lots of evidence sources that feed in to AIM 4, and you'll see them referenced as you're going through the document. It will say SMNR assessment for an ecosystem type, or I have a reference to AIM 3, and so you're going to have to take it on faith that the evidence is there that's pointed to in that part of AIM 4. But essentially, we face a bit of a challenge when we come to doing the AIMS assessments, in that we have an analytical framework for our integrated assessment, but now we need to translate that into a policy framework for sustainable management of natural resources. And you could hopefully see as you go through the AIM 4 review how we're drawing on this sort of left-hand side, this analytical framework, which organises the evidence around the direct drivers of environmental pressures, changes in state, impact on well-being, and opportunities for action, and then translating into these 4 stated aims for SMNR. And these have already been agreed upon. They were used in the last sonar in 2020. So we're not able to change those. But the idea is that these are essentially a set of mutually supporting aims that mean we're managing that environmental, social, economic system in the way that we want to deliver our environmental sustainability goals, but also to deliver on our national well-being goals. So if we start looking at the right-hand side, AIM 1 is the stocks of natural resources are safeguarded and enhanced. They're the layers of the cake that we saw 2 slides back. That feeds into AIM 2, having resilient ecosystems that can adapt to shocks. That then feeds into AIM 3. So this is having healthy places for people free from environmental risk. And this is making sure that we're managing the environment in a way that protects people. So this is thinking about the contributions of ecosystem services to people's health, people's cultural well-being, things like that. And also thinking about the environmental risks that are associated with environmental degradation and making sure that we're managing those. So that's sort of linking through to things like air pollution and flood risk. And then the idea is if we've got healthy places for people, we can build a resilient economy on top of that through a productive workforce, through an environment in which the economy can flourish. But we want that economy to be regenerative. We want it to be working in a sustainable way. We don't want to be drawing down on our stocks of natural resources in a way that's going to degrade and deplete them. And at the same time, we want to be really structuring that economy so that it can help to address a lot of the environmental damage that has manifested as a result of our established economic development paradigm. Here we're really framing Aim 4 very tightly in the setup that's established via the descriptor review. Okay, hopefully you're not too bored already. I thought I'd just set out here a little bit of what you're going to get in Aim 4. So Aim 4 will obviously be one of four reports. We'll have an assessment against Aim 1, an assessment against Aim 2, and an assessment against Aim 3. And this assessment that you're going to review of Aim 4 is going to be part of that overall family of assessment reports on sustainable management of natural resources. So formally, Aim 4 is achieving a regenerative economy with sustainable levels of production and consumption. And we've arranged this into three general sections and then some opportunities for action at the end. So the first section in Aim 4 will be around assessing the contribution of natural resources to economic well-being in Wales. So if you like, that's the kind of impact on well-being part of the DIPS here. And this will be focusing very much on the contributions of nature to economic well-being, recognising that we're looking at the contributions to social and cultural well-being in Aim 3. So I hope that makes sense. Then we'll go on to looking at, okay, what are the pressures that are coming from the economy? Where are they manifesting? So the idea around this is really to provide that assessment using a set of pressure labels that we have already agreed on. So a lot of SONAR is sort of grounded in using consistent classifications to help us basically organize stuff in a comparable and consistent way. So it's important to highlight that we're really looking at the sources here. So it's things like emissions of a pollution from a sector or something like that. It's not looking at the effect of that emission in the environment. That'll be picked up in Aims 1 and 2, and that's where the more nuanced assessment of the effects of pressures from the economy on ecosystems is made. Then we go over to the bigger systemic picture type stuff on how well we're doing in actually changing our production and consumption patterns in Wales through the economic system. So really that's majoring on how well we're doing in Wales in transitioning to a circular economy. So that idea of doing no harm to the environment or minimizing the harm. And then on through to a regenerative economy. So how do we get the economy working to essentially build back up and restore nature to the levels that we want to see? And then towards the end of the document, you'll see some opportunities for action. That's the R in DIPS here. So this is essentially trying to set out a set of opportunities that the government and other stakeholders in Wales can choose to implement. Alongside that as well, as part of the Environment Act, we also need to identify evidence gaps that we need to target, ideally as soon as possible, but very much ideally in advance of the next State of Natural Resources report in 2030. Okay, so that's basically it. I hope that context helps you guys in approaching Aim 4. Just in terms of what we're looking for from your review, there's no need to worry about copy editing and things like that. We're conscious that needs to be done. Of course, when your comments come back as well, there'll be plenty of work to do to update that. So we're really looking for you guys to look at the framing, identify any important bits of evidence that you think are missing, and just to give us the feedback on how well you feel the report is doing with respect to an assessment of progress towards a regenerative economy in Wales, and identifying some of the things we could do to really achieve that ambition. So again, thank you ever so much for the time. I appreciate everyone's very busy people, and it really is appreciated you taking time out to do this for us.